Hello everybody, CabooseDOTexe here, and today I figured we should go over Operation Medic Bag. This is basically their comprehensive roadmap for what to expect when it comes to updates for Payday 3 over the course of 2024. It's going to cover a lot of the things that they want to fix, and it's basically what this task force that they've been talking about is, or at least what they plan to do. While I am still working on that video where I talk about my thoughts on Payday 3, I figured though, since I'm working on that and this came out and that covers some of the things I want to say in that video, it's best that I just kind of make this one real quick and just go over everything that's there. I will refer to it again in that video, but if you're seeing this video after that one for whatever reason, then you probably know that, and I'm sorry for repeating things. I am getting all this information from the official website, and if you want to go there and just skip the video or follow along, you can find a link to that in the description. Alright, so let's get into what we have here. First off, when you go onto the page, the first thing you're going to see is them showing off a picture of all the things that they want to do. Honestly, this picture is more or less just so it's easier for them to quickly show this on different social media sites. It's to kind of show that yes, they are working on all these things, because they're going to go into more in-depth stuff later on if you scroll down. It does have a lot of nice things here though, but I will say this, it is very reassuring to see this. Solo mode, offline mode, server, browser, new content, progression, and if you look down at the initial focus stuff, you got the quick play, the loadout renaming, which is something that I really am glad we're going to get, because I don't know why it's not in the game already. And then you have some new things that I wasn't even expecting, like the daily activities with rewards, rotating stealth modifiers, and even communication wheel improvements. I don't know why they're going to have this mask vendor with weekly rotating inventory. They only have like 25 masks. They probably should consider actually, having more masks before they even bother with that one. What's important to note, this isn't going to be like the very next update. We're not just going to, see this all at once. It's going to be over the course of this year. And if you see at the very bottom of the image, it does say additional details on what's coming in midterm, and long term will be published later. So, who knows? That's probably gonna be more or less the details, but on this page, we're gonna see a lot of what they plan to do and plan to work on. The next section mainly just highlights a few things that they were able to kind of narrow down thanks to feedback. It doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty. Everything after this, though, does. First up, of course, the biggest one, the one that's on everyone's mind, offline mode and solo mode. Now you're probably wondering what's the difference between the two of them. Well, they'll explain it here. Mainly, having a solo mode is basically just being able to play by yourself without having to go through matchmaking, which is currently what you have to do. Offline is it so that way you can actually play if you don't have an internet connection, and these both are going to be two different phases. Phase 1 is making it so that way you can actually play by yourself without having to go through matchmaking. Phase 2 will be making it so that way your game will sync with the cloud when you're online, whether you're playing the game or not, and then resyncing once you reestablish an internet connection. Think Payday 2. It's basically just like Payday 2. If you've ever played Payday 2 when you don't have an internet connection, you'll realize all your stuff's right there. And as soon as you come back online, you'll notice that everything is resyncing. This is because all of your data is actually stored somewhere else, and Steam just makes sure that you have the most up-to-date version. This way you don't lose anything in case your computer bricks or whatever reason. Not to mention allowing you to play it on a plane if you want to. That's where I had it. When I bring my Steam Deck on a plane, I want to play some Payday 2. Don't have to worry about losing my progress when I reestablish connection. Next up is stability and matchmaking with the server browser. That's right, server browser. CrimeNet will return at some point later this year. Stability and matchmaking is something that you're basically always going to have to stay on top of, and we know this. We had to deal with it a lot in the beginning of Payday 3, and then we still kind of have to deal with it now. Personally, I've been lucky and I haven't had to deal with it too much, but I have seen other people struggle with it on many occasions. As for the server browser, I'm glad that we're finally getting CrimeNet back. It's kind of weird that we saw it in the beta when that one person data mined it, and then it was removed from the game, but I do have a theory on that, and that will be in my video where I talk about my thoughts on Payday 3. I know I keep hyping up that video, but I'm really excited for it. Next up is the challenge-based progression. We all hated the challenge-based progression. I think we know that, and they know that too. It says here, our current challenge-based progression didn't achieve the goals we intended. So we've decided to do away with the current system. Challenges will be removed and will switch infamy progression to be tied to heist completion. Basically what they're doing is they're going to revisit every heist, they're going to change the payout values, and they're going to add scaling for the bag secured as well for the heist, and even bonuses for completing it on loud. There still will be challenges in the game, but they're gonna give cosmetic rewards as opposed to progression. And I think this is a much better system. A lot of games do this. I think even Call of Duty does this. And I think it's the proper thing to do. Challenges aren't something that every player wants to do, but the people who really want to get the most out of Payday 3 and are really looking for some reason to keep replaying it are probably going to get a lot more out of this than anyone else. If you're like me, someone who's tried to go for all the achievements in Payday 2, you're going to enjoy this a lot more than what we had before. Then we have the UI revamp. Honestly, I didn't think the UI in Payday 3 was anything all that special, so hopefully it's going to be a little bit flashier, you know? Mainly they want to work on making it a more intuitive UI, and making a more simplified friends menu, but if you want my opinion, just make it so that way I can see who's in my lobby from the main menu. You know, kind of like the Payday 2 lobby screen. That would be nice as opposed to just having a number at the bottom right of the screen. They said that they're going to be rolling out improvements and eventually revamping most of the current UI during this year. My guess is it's going to be kind of a slow progression, you know? Anyway, moving on, we have the next big one, you know, new content, something that we all want, right? We all want more stuff to do in Payday 3. They said that there are going to be 3 DLCs still planned for this year, and they intend to add another free heist. I'm hoping that that actually is supposed to have an S at the end of that word, heist. It would be nice to have more than just one free heist, you know, don't get me wrong, I understand it, you know, you got only a limited amount of resources, but I mean, it would be nice to have a little bit more. At this point, I would even just take the basic bank heist from Payday 2, you know, just add a bunch of legacy stuff. Don't even have to fix the graphics. Just bring it over. Just give me something more to play with your new fun system you have. And I know what you're thinking. You saw that 3 DLCs that are still planned for this year and you thought, not at that price. I'm not paying for that. Well, that's actually the next thing on this list. But before we get to that, there's another line here. We will also be rolling out skill lines, cosmetic items, rewards, a free LMG primary, and much more throughout the year. So finally, we have an answer to where LMGs are going to be. They're going to be primaries and not overkill weapons. I know some of us were a little worried about that, myself included. To be honest, I always forget I have an overkill weapon. I just kind of call it in and then just let it sit there. I have a feeling the LMG is going to be free, and then there's also going to be like a weapon pack that comes with 3 of them, and maybe with melee weapons like in Payday 2? That'd be pretty cool. You know, that'd be nice. But let's move on to that DLC pricing that I know you're thinking about. As I say here, they've heard the feedback and how it did not meet player expectations, and they're currently reviewing the upcoming DLCs. They've heard our complaints. They've heard our complaints of the $10 for one heist. Kind of like back when Tripwire put out the paid weapons that were $10 per gun. And it was a pretty ridiculous price. And Payday 2 did have some pretty good prices and what you get for buying the DLC. $4.99 for a weapon pack and $6.99 for the map. Which doesn't sound so great, but they came packed with like cosmetics and other stuff. So even if you didn't really use the weapon yet, you know, you kind of got quite a bit of things for the price you paid. Hopefully it's that, the legacy version, as opposed to the last 4 years of Payday 2 content. But even if it's that, it's still significantly better than what we currently have. And then next up is that dreaded in-game store. I mean, they say once they're satisfied with improvements, they're intending on making it to Payday 3 and they'll revisit the topic next year. I'm hoping they never revisit this topic. I'm assuming it's talking about microtransactions, and I like to think that that's just not going to be a thing. I'd rather that not be a thing. Can it not be a thing? Please let it not be a thing. I don't want it to happen. Look, all right. We kind of phased out microtransactions a bit since Payday 2 came out. Please let's not have that a thing be again. I hate it so much, my English is broken. I hate it so much, I just want to move on and just talk about the next thing, which is Unreal Engine 5. As you may know, they were planning on moving the game from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5 by January of this year. Obviously, that didn't happen, and so they reallocated the resources dedicated to that update to other aspects. I'm hoping that's something that they did a few months ago as opposed to this month. Because it seems like kind of a ridiculous thing to keep working on when your game is having stability issues, you know? But at least we know they're currently no longer working on that for the time being, and it's something that they do plan on going back to once they're able to. After that, it's just the initial focus stuff that we saw in that first image. Just below that, they do talk about how there's gonna be a Reddit AMA to answer some questions earlier next week, as well as releasing the first of these developer blogs next week. They plan to release them throughout the year and dive into topics that they mentioned here to keep us informed on their progress, which is really good because communication hasn't been something they've been good at since Payday 3 came out, which is not like them. Usually they're very open with everybody. In all honesty, I think this isn't that bad of a roadmap. Not too long ago, we had a really bad one from Halo Infinite, and this one's a lot better than that one, and Infinite's doing pretty good. Well, I'm going to delve more into this when it comes to my thoughts on Payday 3 video. I do want to hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts on this roadmap here? What do you think is the future of Payday 3? And let's be honest here. Let's not go in here talking about how bad the game is. Maybe you have a theory as to what's happening behind the scenes. I'd love to hear it. I love hearing those. But until my thoughts on Payday 3 video comes out or there's another update from Starbreeze, just remember, I love you. Have a good one.